Welcome to UNCAGED, a show that celebrates thought leadership from today's top business leaders. The program provides a voice to amazing executives from around the globe who are shaping the world of business today and mapping the path to the commerce of tomorrow. Today, we're speaking with Justin Lahullier. Justin, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm very, very well. Justin, I'm excited to learn about what you're working on. Justin is the Chief Information Officer at Delta Dental. We'll learn more about what Delta Dental is doing in their path over the last several years. But before we get there, Justin, tell us a little bit about your background and your career today.
Sure. My background is not a traditional IT background that most folks would be used to seeing. So, trained up in business management, healthcare administration, and actually came here to Delta Dental to work on my thesis paper in regards to selling dental insurance to small businesses or individuals in New Jersey. And spent about a year working through that here, and then ultimately joined on as a business analyst, entry level in the organization, and have held about half a dozen positions, throughout the company: compliance, product development, strategy, data and analytics, and then most recently moved into the CIO role about 5 years ago. So I think my experience and career has given me a very global view of the business. I understand lots of corners of the business that traditional IT folks might not understand because they didn't have the opportunity to spend time there. I think, I'm a big proponent of internships, and I think my internship here 22 years ago really allowed me to poke and prod in every crevice of the organization. And then from there, it's been, every 3 to 5 years moving into some new component of the business. And really, I think, kind of been branded more as a change agent in the organization. So looking at the ways we've traditionally approached doing things, not just technically, but, from a process perspective or operations perspective, with an eye towards how we might enhance them, remove them, look at how the market is moving, not just in the dental insurance business, but in other industries, to kind of understand where we might take advantages of technologies or new capabilities, in this dental insurance sector.
So, you've been at Delta Dental for a while, and you've seen it obviously evolve. Tell me a little bit about how that's shifted and how you've been able to apply that, kind of enabling the business, harnessing the power of data to transition and transform.
So when I interned or started here 22 years ago, we were still running on a mainframe. So dark terminal screens, mainframe type infrastructure, folks walking around twice a day with carts with green bar reports on them. And then in 2007, we transitioned to a more modern stack and migrated our business off the mainframe to that stack. And that was really the moment where we realized, we're going to have a lot more data, and it's going to be a lot more easily accessible. And we've got to start to look at how we can attack data and analytics as an organization. And, we brought in some of the more modern technologies and built out some of our old operational reports, et cetera. But really, when I got into business development and product development, we realized there was a significant gap there on the type of data we needed and how quickly we needed it to make decisions to drive the business forward. And so, worked for the better part of 2 years with Accenture as a partner, building out our enterprise data warehouse that is now our legacy enterprise data warehouse, and building the capability to be able to drive decisions in the organization. And we actually spun off a group called Strategic Decision Support and Data Services that was solely aimed at being able to drive faster decision making, not only in product development, but in corporate strategy as a whole. And what was interesting was we ran that group under our strategy arm. It didn't report through the typical IT area. It ran kind of outside that area in strategy. And I think that gave us a lot of better early insight into where we needed to go with data in order to be able to take strategic advantage of it.
So give our listeners and viewers a little bit of a better perspective on Delta Dental and how it shapes.
Sure, sure. So Delta Dental is the largest provider of dental benefits in the country. And we are a conglomerate of several operating Delta companies that operate under the Delta Dental umbrella to provide a seamless experience, across all 50 states to any company or individual now looking to purchase dental insurance. And so classically, our business was always a B2B business. We were selling dental benefits to a group. That group offered those benefits to the individuals, and that was the business model. And a lot of that business was sold through brokers, insurance brokers that operate in the ancillary benefit space. What's happened over the last 10 years is really a pivot to more of a B2B2C or B2C environment, where either groups are now giving their employees a choice. So you pick who you want for benefits and we'll contribute to that. So that's kind of that B2B2C model, or direct to consumer. So we've taken off in the individual industry market, where we're selling insurance directly to individuals. A lot of folks who retired and maybe they don't have dental benefits anymore and now they want to carry dental benefits, or individuals on the dental exchanges within the ACA that are wanting to kind of add dental onto their package. And so that shift has really challenged the business in that the way the sales team approaches, selling the business, the way our capabilities have to be aligned with customer expectations. Today's customer doesn't care that we're dental insurance. They want to be able to operate the same way as they do when they go to buy something on Amazon. They want an easy, hassle-free experience. And they want to be able to do their job, and they're not.
As an end customer, Justin, hallelujah. Absolutely.
They're typically not coming to hang out at our website and learn about dental as much as we would like them to do that. They're typically trying to make sure claims are being paid right and that they're getting, the maximum value out of their benefits. So.
Yeah, I can see that. And it's really fascinating because it's an industry that very much kind of evolved from probably, going out and building those B2B relationships and kind of in-person meetings a lot. And now it's so digital. So it makes complete sense that, you would be driving the information of this whole thing. I mean, when you look at the major trends that you guys are facing, what does the landscape look like for you?
I certainly think that the digitization of our products is a challenge in our industry. Highly regulated industry, similar to banking or finance, where security and privacy are top of mind with the type of information that we're processing. And the fact that what we thought would have taken us 10 years to get to, given COVID, has happened in 3 or 4 years. With that exponential growth in digitization, that certainly has been a challenge. And it's been about changing minds and culture, having folks that have long tenure in our organization, having brokers that have worked a certain way their entire careers, having providers or dentists that have operated, a certain way in their career, and then pivoting and having to kind of meet the new demands, while still in some cases supporting old demands. So, our provider community that provides the dental services, we have to be able to meet them wherever they are. Newer graduates coming out of dental school, they have the practice management system. They want to be tied into our back end. They want real time. Older providers that are getting ready to retire, maybe single practitioner in a small office in a rural area, they still want to fax us claims. So we've got to be able to kind of meet all those types of interactions with our stakeholders and keep an eye on the future to be able to pivot towards those new digital capabilities. So that has certainly been a challenge. I think a typical challenge for us is in the talent acquisition market. You go out and talk to people, they don't necessarily get excited about dental insurance, especially technology people. So how do you get
I find it interesting because when I look at technology businesses, obviously I'm a tech entrepreneur myself. a lot of them have really adopted the commercial model of insurance, right? I mean, it's like recurring revenue, subscription based. I feel like that in some ways, the insurance industry, all these new digital businesses owe you guys everything because that's, we've kind of we've tried to copy your business model.
Yeah. I think trying to attract the right talent is about talking about the challenges or the opportunities that exist, right? And so for an industry that's been very legacy or slow to kind of evolve into that digital space, I think there's a lot of opportunity and there's a lot of problems we can solve together on, how do we provide more value to the customer? How do we be more consultative to an individual who maybe doesn't understand what a procedure code means or what a procedure is, and they want advice on that? So there's a lot of opportunity. And so in talent acquisition, for me, it's been about sitting across from a data scientist or someone and articulating our challenges and problems we want to solve. And that's been very effective because, my lead data scientist is an astrophysicist from Cambridge with a PhD. And he's working in dental insurance. But the problems we're trying to solve are big problems, big data problems. We're looking at large amounts of data from claims or our call center or whatever it might be, and trying to solve, for an operational issue or a customer experience issue.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the huge data issues and the complexities are only going to increase over the next several years. Well, let me shift gears a little bit and ask you about the last couple of years, which is, it's been an interesting moment that we've been living through, and certainly something that's impacted in the insurance industry as well as the dental industry quite a bit. And I'd just be curious how you guys navigated the pandemic moment and maybe some of the challenges that you saw hit the organization, as well as maybe some opportunities that appeared.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, similar to most organizations, the pandemic was a challenge for multiple reasons. I think I would back up to prior to the pandemic, where we had started to identify places we needed to make investment to enable remote work. We saw the trend of remote work coming. We didn't think we would get there in 48 hours when the pandemic ultimately struck, but we started making investments, years ahead of when the pandemic came. And then the pandemic came upon us, and for an organization that was probably 80% in-house workers and maybe 20% that worked remote, mostly in IT and project management areas, we had to flip the switch in 48 hours and move everyone to remote. And then, our biggest challenge was our call center because that wasn't set up remotely. The agents weren't trained on kind of how to handle taking calls, from their dining room seat. And so that became a challenge for us. We were able to mitigate that challenge in about a week and a half. We brought in the technology to enable remote clients for the call center folks. We trained them up. We deployed laptops to all of them. And so within 2 weeks, we had our call center back up and operating. So for us, a lot of the upfront investment helped us weather the initial onset of COVID. And then there was a lot of unplanned work that came along with that, right? We deployed a short-term loan program for our providers that their offices were closed and they needed some revenue. And so we actually created, developed, deployed an online application to be approved for a loan and then pay back that loan over time through our checks back to the providers. We worked on being able to supplement our providers with additional PPE funds that we traditionally weren't paying them to cover the cost of PPE. So there was a lot of unplanned work that came along with that we were all doing remotely and weren't necessarily used to doing that. So I think the first 6 to 8 months, there was that crisis mode where you're kind of just reacting and making sure you're keeping things up and running. But I would say around the 8th month, the pivot started to occur where people are like, we're actually becoming more productive in this model. And so from a productivity standpoint, we were exceeding the productivity we had prior to COVID. There still was this looming culture issue. How is our culture going to be impacted? There's no water cooler talk. How do we address that? But I think it mitigated itself over time as people became used to the technologies and ways they could interact. And I would say at the 1 year mark, that's where the next pivot occurred, where it was like, we could actually do this long term. And, you know, we spent the better part of 2 years completely remote, and then most recently moved into a hybrid model. And I would say in our hybrid model, still approximately, you know, 70 to 80% of our folks are remote more than they're in-house. And we're continuing to evaluate that. You know, the funny part is hybrid is way harder than either everyone in-house or everyone out-of-house, because you have to learn how to kind of work in a mixed mode. And so we're working through that now. But I certainly think early investments in, you know, online technology like Zoom and Microsoft Teams and Monday.com and other different tools that we had out there that were kind of SaaS-based tools that drove collaboration helped us weather the storm.
You know, Justin, I feel like that's probably the best description I've heard of all of those shifts along the way. And certainly, I think we're all trying to figure out that hybrid structure going forward. It'll be interesting to see where that all nets out. I still think that finding that sweet spot of maintaining and building your culture whilst also truly kind of becoming comfortable with that virtual nature of things is going to be a dance we all have to do. But let's talk about 2022. So here we are, hopefully coming out of this pandemic and looking forward for the first time. What does the next year look like for you guys?
I think we're continuing to double down on our investments in digital technology and enabling more of those digital interactions. So, you know, we're completely revamping our contact center to more modern technology to support more channels, chat, SMS, you know, potentially video, you know, looking at ways to increase self-service capabilities for our providers or our members through our digital presence, whether it's our mobile application or our website, and, you know, continuing to invest in those places. I think, you know, from a market perspective, we're certainly looking at segments we didn't typically look at, like our small business segment. So, you know, organizations of 2 to 50 employees that typically wasn't a place we played a lot in has become a strong market segment for us. We think we bring value to those customers, given the level of service we're able to provide them and the type of benefits that we're able to provide them. And we're not only servicing large organizations that we've always serviced. And so I think focusing there, and again, on the individual business, that marketplace is growing as well. And that's really what ties into this need to be meeting those customer expectations and the customer experience. So we've got even more data than we ever had before with all these digital channels, and building out a 360-degree view of our stakeholders. I wouldn't say our customers, because we consider the provider, the member, the broker, the group, all stakeholders, and being able to understand their interactions with us, whether it's through the website, on a phone call, in our IVR, via chat, and stitching those together so that our marketing and customer experience people can identify points of friction or opportunities to provide new services or better services is really where we're focused. And I think we'll continue to drive investment in those places. Obviously, the market or the economy at this time is an unknown. And so we'll continue to monitor that, but I think that's not an excuse, in my opinion, to continue our investment or not continue our investment, because even if we enter a recessionary period, we're ultimately going to come out, and it's really, if you're prepared as you come out of that to meet market demand, that's most important. So I think you have to be careful. We'll certainly pay attention to that, but we're continuing kind of on our mission and vision to kind of increase that satisfaction with those digital experiences and grow our product portfolio. And so we've recently entered into the vision space, so offering vision benefits, and we're evaluating other areas like hearing, you know, as complementary services to what was our core business of dental insurance.
I love that. And I think you're absolutely right. At the end of the day, Justin, everyone still needs insurance. So whether it's a recession or not, we all need it. Yeah.
Insurance is an interesting industry, and there was an employee here that retired several years ago, and at his retirement speech, he talked about why he got into the insurance business, and it was very inspiring because he talked about the fact about how insurance enables a large group of people to have coverage that they otherwise couldn't have, right? And so it's about kind of the good of the whole and pulling people together to be able to purchase this coverage and have that protection that they wouldn't otherwise have. And so Delta Dental is a nonprofit. We're focused on driving as much dental access as possible, and that's our mission. And so finding ways to continue to expand our product portfolio and kind of meet the spirit of that insurance that you just talked about, it is kind of an inspiring component of being in this industry.
Absolutely. And I mean, Justin, thank you so much. It's been great to speak with you today. It's been great to have you on the UNCAGED show. We've been speaking with Justin Lahullier. He is the Chief Information Officer at Delta Dental. He's been talking to us about all of the ways that he is using data and digital to stitch together that customer experience as well as all the stakeholder experiences so that Delta Dental can continue to push and build the leading dental insurance solution, as well as maybe moving into other areas now, which is very, very exciting. Justin, thank you so much for being on UNCAGED today, and we look forward to having you back.
Thank you.
Cheers.